So how do you guys feel about like the shows? Like how do you think James Gunn should go about doing the shows? Should he go all in and do shows on, characters like Green Lantern or Aquaman or the Flash or whoever, or do you think that with all of the main Justice League characters they should all get movies and no shows?
They should all
Because
have movies.
yeah,
The only
because
people
100%.
that should have shows are people like the Penguin show is a great way to give him more backstory without having to take up too much time in the next film. Like
Took
that's
the
what you
words out
should
of my mouth.
use the shows for, is to like fill in gaps in time or fill in like backstories for characters that you don't want to take up too much time for in a movie. But like a main character should never have a show, because then why, like if then you're just using like the show and just focusing too much on one character. So you're using the show just to tell their whole story arc, but then giving us just like the big things in the movies, but then it just takes away from other characters. Like then you have to do all times of background and character and character development in the movie on like your villains and side characters, when it would be way easier just like give someone like Penguin a show so that when he shows up in the second movie and you make callbacks to the show, everybody knows what you're talking about, but at the same
Mhm.
time it's not extremely important. Like that's part of the issue with like not necessarily with Marvel now, but what I foresee that being an issue is that like when you put way too much into the shows and then people only watch the movies, they're missing so much. Like you don't want people to be like super behind, like casual fans, just because they don't watch all the shows. Like not everybody pays for HBO Max, but a lot of people will pay $11 for a movie ticket to go see something. So
Mhm.
like because it's a one-time thing. So it
It's
just
it.
kind of depends, I guess, on how you look at that. Because all the HBO Max stuff is exclusive to that. Like at least the CW stuff you can watch on TV.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it's interesting you said that because a couple things, I think you hit the nail on the head with the backstory and how Penguin's like the perfect, show. Disney Plus, I'm pretty sure is like tied or just under like what Netflix is in terms of subscriber count. So, and they did that really fast. So I do think that Disney Plus shows, the Marvel shows, most of them, obviously not She-Hulk, but most of them have been pulling in, you know, pretty impressive numbers. With HBO Max, they don't have that luxury of being, tied with Netflix. I'm sure it's doing well, but I'm pretty sure if I if I have this correctly, I think HBO Max is one of the more expensive
Yeah,
streaming
they're
platforms.
It is.
14.99. Yeah.
Right.
And on
So
top of that, like they don't have what everything Disney has. Like Disney doesn't only just have Marvel; they have Star Wars. They have all of Disney stuff,
Yeah, they
all
got
the Pixar
Pixar.
stuff.
Yeah.
for
Like
sure,
it's a
for
way
sure.
more openly accessible streaming service for a cheaper price that has a wider variety of content than HBO Max has right now.
Right. But having said that, I do think they should make movies for all. If you're like in the Justice League, the OG Justice League, you should have your own movie. But I do think, it would be cool to like the Green Lantern core show would be cool to introduce more of the Green Lantern lore and get more into the lore of DC. And I do think that in this 10-year plan, like whenever we're going to know the full 10-year plan or not. And I don't, I'm willing to bet that we're not going to find out any shows in the James Gunn plan. And don't forget, I think they're also including games, but,
Yeah.
which is going to be interesting. But on the show part, I do think that, they should have that mapped out, like what the shows are going to be. They shouldn't be calling audibles. Like right now, Marvel, I forget which one, but there was Armor Wars. They decided that Armor Wars was going to be a show. Now it's going to be a movie. I actually think that was a good move. But it is interesting that they're calling audibles. Like it does look like, maybe they are pivoting and they were putting too much pressure on making shows and they were all like Disney Plus, Disney Plus, Disney Plus. And now they're kind of like, maybe that wasn't the move. So I do think that that's important with the shows, but with the games, I wonder what they're going to be able to do because, when you think of the Arkham games or the Spider-Man games, like those were full on movies. They had so many characters, and it's just going to be really difficult to say make a Superman game when they want to make 3 Superman movies. And that Superman game, you want to have, Brainiac, you want to have Doomsday, you want to have Lex Luthor. So I just think it's going to be really difficult to coordinate between a full DC universe on film and shows and then games. And I think that's, by the way, why not only did Marvel say we are not, that the games are not part of the MCU, but they don't want to build a gamerverse. I think there was a lot of buzz when they announced Marvel Spider-Man 2 and the Wolverine game, and it was like, oh wow, it looks like they might be building a gamer universe. And it might be Kevin Feige or someone else that said this, but I'm pretty sure like they did put out something that it was like, we don't want to do a gamer universe because we don't want to make it that difficult for the game developers and creators in those companies, because we want them to do a good job and be able to put something out that they believe in.
You also don't want to overcomplicate anything. Like, that's as cool as the Arkham games were, storyline wise, it would be almost impossible to like jump into any of the sequels and not know, like not knowing what happened in the other games, because it was all very important and all the plots flowed the way that a normal movie universe or show would. So it would be kind of difficult if they were trying to connect all these games, because then you wouldn't be able to play Wolverine unless you played the first 2 Spider-Man games, and then whatever comes out after that, you'd have to play all of those games
but
and
that's
play
my
all the way
point.
through them to figure everything out.
Because with the DCU, I'm pretty sure that's what they're saying.
That's
they
what
want to
that's
do
what James
that.
Gunn said.
Yeah, I don't know how good of an
very
idea that is.
ambitious.
Although you got to think about how, like, the potential here. Like, because to bounce off what you said, like Green Lantern is a different example of a show, because like you could have Hal Jordan as your main Green Lantern, but then do a show on
John
Guy
Stewart.
Gardner or
That's
Kyle
kind of what I
Rayner
meant.
or Kilowog or any of them. So like that would work, because that would also be exploring side characters.
Mhm.
But think about how fun it would be if they had like an open world, like Green Lantern game where you got to like make your own Green Lantern. Like that would be super dope.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people would play that. Like you got to
I think that's
customize your
kind of what
character
they're
and everything.
doing with
Yeah,
Hogwarts
so-
Legacy.
Right, like
Yep.
a similar concept, but with like the Green Lanterns, and you could pick like which Lantern Corps you get. There's just so many possibilities with that.
Yeah.
And it would definitely make a lot of money for sure if they made the game correctly.
And by the way,
Yes.
it would make a lot of people who aren't Green Lantern fans fan of Green Lantern. I mean,
Yeah.
like, he's not like a character like Batman that everyone already knows, so I think there's a lot of gamers out there that aren't into comics and didn't like the one Green Lantern movie that came out, that if they had a good experience playing an open world, create your own Green Lantern game, it would definitely convert people to be fans.
Hey, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I just want to let you guys know a couple of things. We do have 2 other channels. So we have one channel called the Superhero Post Podcast, and we have another channel called Superhero Post Gaming. On my Superhero Post Gaming, I'm usually streaming about everyday video games, and on my Superhero Post Podcast, I post it once to twice a week. We usually do a weekly news episode, and then the next episode is usually like, MCU rankings, DCU movie rankings, and all types of stuff like that. So guys, please do me a favor and follow those channels as well, so you can keep up with me on the daily and the weekly. Love you guys. Peace out.